Hey there, come, have a seat. Let me tell you a story of what happened to me recently. I was on the bus heading home from work. I work out of town, so it's a bit of a long commute. On the way, it started to rain. It was light at first, but it kept getting heavier and heavier, to the point where you can get drenched within seconds of standing outside. I like the rain, so I thought it was nice. The bus made its way normally until it came to a stop. Apparently, the road ahead was flooded. There was no way forward, and of course no one was dumb enough to risk losing their vehicle to the heavy current. We rarely ever get any floods. Heck, it didn't even rain all year. I suppose that's why no one was annoyed by the flood. They were just happy it rained. Since the road was the only way to town, we opted for staying put and waiting it out. Now the rain was hitting my window. To pass the time, I took out my phone. And of course, there's no signal, so I can't go online. But who do you think I am? I'm Manga Barista, and I always have manga on me. That morning I downloaded a manga to read and determine whether it's worth making a video on. And let me tell you, at that time in the bus, under the rain, with nowhere to go, there was no other manga I would have rather had on me. Trust me when I say that I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this manga is amazing. It's called The Witch and the Night Will Survive. Let's not keep you waiting any longer and tell you the story. A wicked witch did tell the king, "A sacrifice to me you'll bring, lest this town and all who dwell within it taste my baleful spell." The king replied without delay,
"Begone, thou witch, be on thy way, for none who live upon my land will see the scrap on thy hand."
Then with all his royal might, he gave a quest unto a knight, to hunt the witch through blight and gloom, to track her down and meet her doom. Our protagonist, Agridius, is the son of the Margrave. He spent a few days out hunting and now he's heading home. He knows that he's in for a scolding when he gets home, so he decides to, instead of going through the front door, he'll get in from the other side through the window and into the study. His mother should be there at this time of day, and if he can sweet-talk her before she joins forces with his father, he might get away with just a little reprimand. Classic divide and conquer strategy. Right up there with bribing your younger siblings so they wouldn't tell on you, and non-stop talking to distract. Remember, little Timmy? If they're not talking, they're thinking. And if they're thinking about your screw-ups. So keep talking, little Timmy, keep talking! Agridius managed to get into the study, but his mother wasn't there. Odd. So he searched the house for his parents until he found them, dead. He also found a letter to him from his father. It explained the situation.
"Dearest Agridius, I pray this finds you safe and sound. A week ago the hunters sent word that the witch is on the move. Not long afterward, a grave wind blew through our land. Our household has fallen, your mother as well. Soon I will join them. Agridius, my son, as your father and your Margrave, I leave you this command. Guide our people in my stead. That is, if any remain to guide."
There was none. Everyone was dead, and someone had to pay for it.
It was the witch. Take revenge. Kill her.
Filled with rage, Agridius grabs his gear and heads into the Forbidden Woods to hunt down the witch.
Hunt her.
After a couple of days of trekking, he managed to locate the witch.
Hunt her.
Without wasting any time,
She's evil.
he starts attacking.
Make her suffer. Monster. Kill her. Kill her. Kill her.
He mercilessly stabs her, lights her on fire, hangs her.
Monster. She's a monster. She's a monster. She's a
Monster? She cries and tells him she's not the one behind it. It was the wind, she said. With nothing to lose, Agridius drags the witch back with him to the village. She obviously knew something. When they reached the village, she told him that it was a curse that warps the passage of time, killing people but leaving their bodies intact and undecomposing. The source of the curse was the woods. It's something akin to a natural disaster, and the only thing they can do for these people is to correct their time and let their bodies go back to the natural course of the world. After begging her for help, Agridius starts gathering the bodies of everyone. The same people he was supposed to protect, he was now lining up their lifeless bodies for the witch to disintegrate. But not all was lost. because as they were gathering corpses, they found two survivors, two little girls. It seemed that their parents tried their best to get them as far away from town as possible, and they succeeded at the cost of their own lives. It was a miracle. With that, Agredius makes a vow to protect these girls, to rebuild the town, and to not allow something like this to happen ever again. And he asked the witch to help him with that. So, with barely any food or money, they start to slowly but surely rebuild and get more people to join them. For those who are cursed, abandoned by the church and the kingdom, this is their story of survival. The art of this manga is pretty damn good, from the detailed environments to the character and monster designs. And I gotta say, I'm absolutely in love with these character designs. First up, look at Agredius' hunting gear. He's got this badass looking witch doctor gas mask, cloak that I'm pretty sure has some defensive properties on it, on account of the eye symbol on the hood. But it could also be to scare predators that are approaching from the back, kinda like the white spots on a tiger's ears. And my favorite part of his gear is without a doubt his gauntlet. He has this like fat gauntlet that serves as a shield. It's so freaking cool. And he has multiple versions of it, like this claw one. It's so cool! Now let's look at the witch. I like her design. Her dress that looks like it was made of tree bark, her dark legs and her very long hair is an early design of her. And I gotta say, I'm glad they went for a more rigid and naturesque look, cause this looks too, anime girlish, if that makes sense. Now talking about the monster designs, so far we have only seen two monster types. One is a giant bull-looking monster, and the other is something called the Fortress Bee. It's basically a giant big-ass bee that is also a beehive. It uses its saliva to control bees to attack and defend. How awesome is that? Such a cool monster. And the way they took it out was even cooler, because the fights in this manga are some of the best I've ever seen in a fantasy manga. They're so fluid. Agredius doesn't have a fixed fighting style. He uses spears, threads, magic, hooks, bombs, whatever it takes to get the job done. And a lot of the time, he fights alongside his sister, and their coordination is impeccable. They barely even talk, they just go with the flow. And the result is a beautiful waltz of death. Now, although I did say that Agredius sometimes fights alongside other people, if you want a strong protagonist, then boy have I got news for you. Because it doesn't matter if he's up against a beast 10 times his size, or he's outnumbered by trained soldiers, this guy is a monster. Now for the best part about this manga, which is the characters. Their personalities, their quirks, their interactions, it's all so fun to watch. For example, at one point they were going to clean themselves to get rid of the smell. The process they went through was strange if you think about it, but it felt natural because of their conversation and behavior. And that's peak immersion in my opinion, to not be able to question something because it feels natural to that world. Agredius' sister has a fire sword, and I'm glad they use it for other things instead of being just a weapon. Like, you want boiling water? Bam, fire sword. Want to grill meat? Bam, fire sword. Your marriage is falling apart? Maybe consider going to a counselor. Who has a fire sword? It's nice that the characters are not one-dimensional. Like, although Agredius is physically powerful, he's not perfect. He has a lot of doubts and burdens. After all, he lost most of the people he cared about, and didn't even have the time to grieve, because he had other people that depended on him. As for the witch, first you gotta remember, she is not human. She's an entirely different creature, which makes sense when it comes to her personality, because she has the mentality of a child. She barely knows anything about the human world or about interacting with other people. It's nice seeing her slowly develop an understanding of humans and companionship. This is also the case for the other characters. All the supporting characters are good. Here's a detail that I really liked in the manga. Without any spoilers, in chapter 7 they mention something that gets you to say, "Oh, I did not notice that, but it makes sense now that I think about it." But if you go back and read the previous chapters, you will instead be saying, "How the hell did I not notice that?" It's something that you have or will notice, but you will ignore it until you know the truth. I love it when manga and anime do these kinds of things. Trust me, after you read chapter 7, go back and read the chapters before it. I would love to keep talking, but the rain has let up and the road is clear. I will see you in the next video with another manga. But until then, take care of yourself.